Alright everyone, welcome to our video on chapter 7 and inventory. Well, specifically merchandise inventory and kind of how to do the costs for it. And fair warning, there's only 2 questions on this video, but the second one is kind of a doozy. So with that in mind, let's start with the first one. Beginning inventory is valued at $7,000, purchases are $12,000, and ending inventory is valued at $9,000. So they want to know what cost of goods sold is. So I'll give you a second to try and work that one out on your own. Alrighty, so to do these kind of problems, you have to remember this equation: beginning inventory plus purchases equals goods available for sale minus ending inventory equals cost of goods sold. So I'll do the problem first and answer it, then I'll talk about why that is, or why this equation works. So 7,000 plus 12,000 gets us to 19,000. Ending inventory is at 9,000. So cost of goods sold is going to be 10,000. So let's break down this first part: beginning inventory plus purchases. So let's kind of make it easy on ourselves. Let's say that we have a little warehouse where we sell stuff from, and we start with 5 things of inventory, and then during the year we buy 5 more. How many are we going to have available to sell during the whole year? 10, right? So that should make sense. And now at the end of the period, we take an inventory count and we see, okay, we only have 3 things left. Well, how many did we sell? 7. So kind of scary, I guess, when you look at these questions first and you see all these numbers and all these words, and it can get kind of confusing. But if you just think about it and you think about this equation, these questions really aren't that bad. But guess what questions are really bad? Da 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 da. Yep, you guessed it. FIFO, weighted average, and LIFO. So I'll give you a second to try and work this one out. Just try your best, and then we'll talk about it. Alright, so to start off, let's see what's going on. So they started with this for inventory, then they buy some, and they sell some, and then they buy some. So the easiest way, since they only have this one sale, the easiest thing to do would just be fill out the sales for all 3, since it's going to be the same for all of them. So it's just going to be the 140 times 15. And this isn't going to change between the methods, because when we're selling it, we know it's just like a set selling price. It doesn't matter what inventory method we're using the cost for stuff. It's going to be just a price that we set on our stuff. So that's going to be the same for all 3 methods. So now to do the cost of goods sold, I'm going to start with just doing the LIFO and FIFO, because weighted average is just so different. And then we'll come back around and we'll talk about weighted average. So FIFO, first in, first out. And we have to see how much our inventory costs when we sold it. So that means we're not going to include this January 20th purchase, because if we didn't have it, how did we sell it, right? Makes sense? So first in, first out. Which was here first? Our beginning inventory or what we purchased during that month? Well, obviously the beginning inventory is there first, right? So that's what's going to be included first. So we sold 140 units, so our cost of goods sold has to get to 140 units. So 100 of it is going to come from the beginning inventory, and it was at $8 a piece. So now we have to get, this is a 4. So we have to get another 40 inventory from the purchases, because that's what came next. And that was at $10. So this is 800 plus 400. Sum that up, and we get a cost of goods sold of 1,200. Now, gross profit is just going to be sales minus cost of goods sold. So we get a gross profit of 900. Alright, so what's ending inventory? So I guess I probably shouldn't have erased this. So end inventory. Excuse me. So we sold 140 units, and so we sold all of these, remember? This was all included in the cost of goods sold. But we sold 40 of these, so 200 minus 40, we still have 160 of those in our ending inventory. So, and those are costed at 10, or their cost was 10 each. And then we have all of this purchase left. So it's going to be 50 times 11. So this is going to be 1600, and this is going to be 550. You add those two up, and our ending inventory should be 2,150. Alright, so hopefully breaking that down a little bit kind of made sense. And now we're going to start doing LIFO. LIFO is kind of the same thing. It's just, now instead of saying what was the first thing that we had, now we're just going to say what was the last thing that we had. So again, we're not going to look at the January 20th purchase when we're calculating our cost of goods sold, because how did we sell it if we didn't have it yet? So what was the last thing in between our beginning inventory and our purchases? Well, obviously this was the last thing in, right? Because this is obviously going to be the first thing that we had. So we sold 140 units, and we had 200 units from this purchase. So we're just going to take it all from there. So we're not going to take the whole 200 because we only sold 140. So 140 times 10 equals 1400. And that's the number that goes here for cost of goods sold for LIFO. So now we're going to subtract that to get gross profit of 700 for LIFO. See, when we start breaking these down, these aren't too bad. Alright, so now let's do our ending inventory. So we had a little bit left of everything. Well, not a little bit left. We had everything from these two, and then we had a little bit left from this. So 100 times 8, right? And then the 50 times 11. So this is going to be 800. It's going to be 550. So now from this, we sold 140. So 200 minus 140 again. We should have 60 left of this. 60 times 10 is 600. Add all those up and we get 1950. So just a quick comparison between FIFO and LIFO. We can see that during this month the prices were rising. Oh, underlined the wrong one. So we had stuff at the beginning that we paid $8 for, but then we had to pay $10 later in the month. Excuse me, and then later in the month we had to pay $11. So this is in a scenario when prices are rising, which is generally true in the real world as well. So as you can see, FIFO had a lower cost of goods sold than LIFO did, and it had a higher ending inventory. So cost of goods sold, remember, gets subtracted from our revenues to get our net income. So FIFO is going to give us more net income. Remember, these are all true for rising prices. It's going to give us more net income, and it's going to give us more ending inventory. Now you may be thinking, well, why wouldn't they just use FIFO all the time then? Because FIFO seems pretty nice. Well, there are times when maybe we want more cost of goods sold. Think about our taxes. The less net income we have, the less taxes we have to pay, and therefore the more cash we have.